Hello, biology students. This is Mr. Brennan, and I've got some thoughts today to share with you about inheriting more than one trait. Of course, any organism is a complex collection of all kinds of traits, and we've been thinking quite a bit about the inheritance of a single trait at a time. But it really turns out to be important to think about multiple traits at once. And in fact, thinking like that helped biologists figure out exactly how traits became inherited. In any event, we'll talk about sort of two broad categories. We'll talk about a category where traits might be linked to one another, or where traits might be independent. Consider an organism that is, say, simpler than humans. Let's say they only have three chromosomes. Of course, an individual will get a chromosome from each parent. So each parent will contribute three chromosomes. So we'll wind up with these organisms will wind up with three pairs of chromosomes, one set from one parent and the other three from the other parent. We refer to these as homologous pairs. Chromosome number one on the left maybe has come from the father. Chromosome number two on the chromosome number one on the right, the right-hand side of that pair might have come from the female. Better way to organize that and to identify that is to label for each pair, chromosome 1 and 2 and 3, maybe we'll label them A and B, A on the left and B on the right. Chromosome 1A was inherited from the male parent, chromosome 1B from the female parent, and so forth. So all the A's have been inherited from the male parent, and all the B's inherited from the female parent. I've drawn a box over here. You see these little sort of shaded regions. These are regions that show up under like a stained dye under a microscope. And in fact, give the word chromosome its name. These were first seen as sort of colored or filled in bodies, so chromo meaning color and some meaning body. So these were chromosomes where they showed different bands, if you will. But to our point about inheritance, these little colored sections, these kind of darkened sections, are maybe regions where a certain trait is located. Okay, this could be the gene right here for fur color, like we've been talking about with tribbles, our fictionalized organism. Okay, so maybe it's getting the dominant allele from the father and the recessive allele from the mother, and this is where the tribble might get its allele combination, say BW in the language that we've been using. Okay, so that's the location, the very precise location of that trait. Look at this even more carefully. Okay, here it is, a blow-up version of chromosome 3A and B, chromosome pair, right? The homologous pair, number 3. And this individual has received the B allele for black fur from its male parent and the W allele for fur color from its female parent. So we would say that it's heterozygous for its genotype, and it has a black fur phenotype because the B is dominant over the W. Okay, but there's another box. Okay, this second box carries, say, the alleles for the eye color. Okay, and when this tribble mates with another tribble, it's going to contribute either, for any of its offspring, it's going to contribute either all of chromosome A to an offspring or all of chromosome B to an offspring. In fact, we've been saying tribbles are prolific, right? So this tribble may be crossed with another tribble, creates 500 offspring, and roughly 250 of those offspring will receive chromosome A from this individual, and another 250 should be receiving chromosome number B. All right. So this is how the sort of a passing of traits will happen, right? Not allele by allele, but rather chromosome by chromosome. So any given individual that's an offspring of this particular parent will receive either chromosome 3A or chromosome 3B from this parent. This second box down here, right, is the location for eye color, and you might recall that capital R was the dominant gene for red eye color, and little r was for the recessive blue color. When this individual mates with another triple, it's going to contribute either the combination of big B little r to an offspring or W big R to an offspring, because the entire chromosome is passed on, right? One of these pairs is passed on to any given offspring with equal likelihood. So these two traits, say the fur color and the eye color, are linked since that entire chromosome is passed along. All the traits on that chromosome are linked with one another. So there may be, 20 other traits about triples that we haven't identified that would be passed along on chromosome number 3, and a whole bunch of other traits that are on chromosome number 1, number 2, and so on. But we'll just keep it simple and think about fur color and eye color. And if they're located both on chromosome 3, then we say that those traits are linked. Once we know that traits are linked, we can actually start doing some more sophisticated, or I guess complicated at least, more complicated Punnett squares. Let's say we imagined like that parent we were thinking about was heterozygous for both fur color, because it was BW, and for eye color, because it was little r and big R. What if it mated with another triple who had the same genotype, right? BW on the left-hand side and little r, big R on the right-hand side. Well, since they're linked, instead of making just a single, having a single letter at the top, we can have both letters for both traits at the top. So here, this is the male parent, say, was capital B little r and capital W big R. Those were the possible traits that could be passed along by the male parent. And if in this fictionalized example, the female parent had the same genotype, you'd see the same thing on the left-hand side. But now we can fill in our Punnett square, and our Punnett square becomes the combination of both genes. Here are the results of that Punnett square. Notice at the top, of course, we've got the combination of the linked alleles. So big B little r on the upper left-hand side and big B little r on the side, right? And that combination gives us big B, little r. And the combination over here in the next box, right, is the big B from over here, the W from over there, the big R, and then the little r from over there. So each box fills in with the combination, right? But the notation changes, right? Now we're collecting the alleles for any given trait together. So the B's and W's will come together for fur color, and the big R's and little r's will come together for eye color, right? So what do we have at the end? We have 75% black fur, right? Anything with a B in it gives us a black fur triple, right? So three out of the 4 boxes have a big B, and only one box has the homozygous recessive combination of WW. So 75% black fur, 25% white fur. And in terms of eyes, it's similar, right? There's only one box that has the little r combination, the recessive combination for blue eyes. All the other boxes have at least one big R, and so it's 75% red eyes and 25% blue eyes. That's from a phenotype point of view. From a genotype point of view, no, sorry. Let's look at the combination though, right? There are three distinctive kinds of triples we could find. We're going to find 50% black fur and red eyes. Those are the two corners, the upper right-hand corner and the lower left-hand corner right there, okay? 25% black fur and blue eyes, the upper left-hand corner, and then 25% white fur and red eyes. Now we could do this with any combination of the alleles, right? It could be W little r and big B little r and so forth. Everything, any of the kinds of combinations we've thought about. I just thought it'd be interesting to look at the two parents who are homozygous for both traits. Let's take a look at a counterexample where traits are on different chromosomes, okay? Traits that are on separate chromosomes are inherited independently of one another. They are unlinked. Like in this case, this triple traits for fur color over here on chromosome number 3 and fin number, little f and big F on chromosome number 1, okay? And so now these two traits, right, when they're crossed, when this individual is crossed with another triple, okay, the fur color and the fin number traits are completely independent of one another. So all 4 combinations could be passed on to the next generation, right? Maybe sometime in one particular for one particular offspring they get chromosome 3A, and so they wind up with big B, but they get 1A, and so they get little f as a pair from this parent. So that could be big B and little f. All 3 other combinations are possible, right? The big B with the big F, the W with the little f, and the W with the big F. All 4 of those are possible to pass on. And that means that our Punnett square is going to be somewhat more complicated, right? If they're independent, then notice here all 4 possible combinations that parent could have donated to any offspring. Each of those is equally likely. And if we imagine 2 parents that are heterozygous for both of those traits, right, we're going to have the same markings on the left-hand side that we have on the right-hand side. And then the Punnett square fills in as a 4x4 square with 16 different possible combinations of those traits, okay? Now, that's not supposed to be scary, right? It's just like the way in which we keep track of things, right? If the traits are linked, then not only will we have like a double letter combination at the top, but there'll be a limited number of double letter combinations because the traits are linked. In this particular case, this big B was on the same chromosome as that little r. But if the traits are not linked, it means that this big B could be transmitted separately and independently from whatever gets transmitted for fin number, little f or big F. And so all the combinations are possible. Right. So now we typically don't take this further than looking at 2 traits at a time, because we just want to compare 2 traits and figure out if they're linked or independent. And while we'll work with Punnett squares to like make some predictions, one could work backwards by looking at the the results of offspring and then determine whether or not traits were independent or linked. All right. So a little bit of a long discussion there, but I hope that you feel like you can tell the difference between linked traits and independent traits.